गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you. Before we begin with the oration, let us take a moment to felicitate our esteemed guests. I request Honorable Chancellor, Royal Global University, Dr. A.K. Pansari, to kindly do the honors. Sir, may I request you to please felicitate Honorable Justice Shri Vijay Vishnoi, Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court. Sir, we join the state in welcoming you on your assumption as the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court. Thank you, sir. May I request Honorable Chancellor Dr. A.K. Pansari to felicitate Honorable Justice Shri Ranjan Gogoi, former Chief Justice of India. Sir, we are glad to have you amongst us again, and the RGO community would like to once again join the state and the nation in congratulating you on being conferred the prestigious Ahom Vaibhav Award, the highest civilian award of the state of Assam. Thank you, sir. May I now request Chancellor, sir, to felicitate Honorable Justice Shri V. Ramasubramanian, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. Thank you, sir. May I now request Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Assam Royal Global University, Professor Dr. S.P. Singh, to kindly deliver the welcome speech. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pranami. Honorable Justice Vijay Bishnoi ji, Honorable Chief Justice Guwahati High Court, Honorable Justice Ranjan Gogoi, former Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice V. Ramasubramanian, former Judge, the Supreme Court of India, respected Mrs. Bishnoi, Mrs. Gogoi, Mrs. Ramasubramanian, other honored sitting and former judges of Guwahati High Court and other courts of Assam, respected Chancellor, Dr. A.K. Pansari, Pro-Chancellor, Shri A.K. Modi, senior advocates and other advocates of Guwahati High Court, members of press and media, my esteemed colleagues of Royal Global University, other guests, ladies and gentlemen, aap sabhi ko saadar namaskar. I take this opportunity to welcome you all on behalf of the Assam Royal Global University for the oration by Justice V. Ramasubramanian, former Judge, the Supreme Court of India, on religion, morality and law, organized by Royal School of Law and Administration. I also wish to mention that on 15th of this month, 15th of February, Justice Ramasubramanian have addressed our students of Royal Global University, law and other discipline students on a very pertinent topic, education, empowerment or emancipation. I think that was one of the most important orations so far we had happened in this university, and the students and the teaching fraternity all were benefited by that particular oration, and a lot of very interesting questions have been raised by the students, and thank you so much, sir, for that particular day, and we are highly obliged for your presence today again, sir. In this university, पूर्व में बहुत सारे लोगों ने आकर के हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को, हमारे टीचर्स को उद्बोधन दिया, बात की, उसमें बहुत सारे पॉलिटिशियंस, बहुत सारे ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, बहुत सारे फिल्म मेकर्स, बहुत सारे आर्टिस्ट, कल्चरल आर्टिस्ट, इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट, एवरीवन हैज़ कम, बहुत सारे लोग आए. जस्टिस उज्जवल भुइयां साहब ने हमारे मूट कोर्ट का इनॉग्रेशन किया था 2018 में, जब हमने मूट कोर्ट को शुरू किया, जब हमारा पहला साल था लॉ का। उसके बाद वो अभी भी पिछले 2 महीने पहले जब सिटिंग जज ऑफ सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऑफ इंडिया आकर के उन्होंने बच्चों का उद्बोधन किया। आज लेकिन बहुत खास बात यह है कि पहली बार, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल बिश्नोई साहब, पहली बार ऑनरेबल चीफ जस्टिस ऑफ Assam High Court is with us. So thank you so very much, sir. This is the first time in last so many years. And I especially thank Justice Ranjan Gogoi, sir, and Justice Subramanian, sir, for taking out time and delivering this lecture. Only because of you, we all gathered here. So I'm very, very thankful to all of you. सर, इस यूनिवर्सिटी में बहुत सारे लोग आए, लेकिन ऐसा पहला मौका है जबकि हमारे बीच में ना केवल सिर्फ चीफ जस्टिस साहब मौजूद हैं, उसके अलावा ऑलमोस्ट ऑल सिटिंग जजेस ऑफ हाई कोर्ट, ऑल फॉर्मर जजेस ऑफ हाई कोर्ट एंड मेनी जजेस फ्रॉम अदर डिफरेंट कोर्ट्स ऑफ असम, वो हमारे बीच में मौजूद हैं। और बहुत सारे सीनियर एडवोकेट्स और जितने भी हाई कोर्ट से जुड़े हुए रजिस्ट्रार साहब, सभी लोग यहाँ मौजूद हैं। और ये हमारे लिए शायद बहुत ही सौभाग्य की बात है और ईश्वर का बहुत हमारे ऊपर कृपा है, जिसकी वजह से आप सब लोग यहाँ हैं। मैं आप सब लोग का हृदय से धन्यवाद करता हूँ और आप सबका स्वागत करता हूँ रॉयल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी में। और मैं ये उम्मीद करता हूं कि ये जो नई प्रथा शुरू हुई है, इतने सारे लोगों का, इतने सारे जजेस का हमारे बीच में आना और हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी को आशीर्वाद देना, वो शायद हमारे लॉ स्कूल को और इस यूनिवर्सिटी को एक नए आयाम में ले जाने में सक्षम होगी। सो मैं आपका हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। वंस अगेन आई वेलकम ईच एंड एवरी वन ऑफ यू। और मैं एक्सपेक्ट करता हूं कि आज का जो ओरेशन है और जो टॉपिक है, this is very, very relevant, and we all are, struggling to find out the real meaning of religion law. And also, when I was a student of law myself, I studied, and whenever I go to law, I found religion there. And when I would talk to religion and see other things, I found something which is there, which is law. So what is actually the whole thing is, I think, आज का जो हमारा oration है, definitely we will be enriched and we will make ourselves very clear that what is the relationship and how all the things in totality go together for the betterment of society and betterment of the nation. Thank you everyone. Welcome once again. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We shall now present a brief audiovisual on the Assam Royal Global University.
You all are very privileged children of this country. Very, very privileged. We never had the occasion of coming to this kind of an institute. When we were graduating, we never dreamt of this kind of an institution. So you all are privileged because your mother and father can afford this, or the Global University, Royal Global University has sponsored you, few of you.
The university is excellent. You are getting good knowledge here. Really, I am very much happy about the good infrastructure of the university. The knowledge which you are taking from the university, you are taking the degree. It's really, really a great thing for all of you.
I think it is growing nicely. इंक्रीमेंटल इंक्रीजेस भी हो रहा है, साथ साथ फैसिलिटी भी बढ़ा है और रॉयल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी कैन बी नाउ कंसिडर्ड एज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट यूनिवर्सिटी इन एंटायर ईस्टर्न इंडिया. जैसे शुरुआत हुआ है, आई एम श्योर ये तो बहुत अभी अगर आप इसका एज का हिसाब से कंपेयर करो, इट इज स्टिल ए वेरी वेरी न्यू इंस्टीट्यूट. बट जैसे ग्रोथ हुआ है, मेरा मानना है कि 10 साल में दिस इंस्टीट्यूट विल बी वन ऑफ द बेस्ट इंस्टीट्यूट इन द एंटायर कंट्री.
पूत के पांव पारडे में दिख जाते हैं, इज अ सेइंग. आई कैन से विद होप, ऑप्टिमिज्म एंड कॉन्फिडेंस, दिस विल गो अ लॉन्ग वे. दिस यूनिवर्सिटी will set very high standards.
That was a brief overview of the university. Now we have the oration by Justice Shri V. Ramasubramanian, former Judge, Supreme Court of India. After a brief stint at the bar, Justice Shri Ramasubramanian was appointed as an additional judge of the Madras High Court in July 2006. In 2016, he joined the Common High Court for Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Thereafter, in 2019, he took charge as the Chief Justice of the Himachal Pradesh High Court. On September 2019, Justice Ramasubramanian was appointed as the judge in the Supreme Court. It's worth noting that throughout his distinguished career, he has consistently prioritized the good of the public, the larger good of the public. His judicial prowess is not only marked by professional excellence, but also a sterling scholarly reputation. Justice Ramasubramanian has made significant contributions in this area. He has authored a book in Tamil titled Sol Vettai, which delves into the principles of law and justice within the Kamba Ramayana. Sir, could I kindly request you to come to the stage and deliver your eagerly awaited speech?
Honorable Mr. Justice Ranjan Gogoi, former Chief Justice of India, Honorable Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court, the spouses of some of the judges, judicial officers, the Chancellor of this university, the Pro-Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor, respected members of the faculty of this wonderful university, distinguished invitees, my dear students. This oration was originally scheduled to be held at 11 o'clock today. Therefore, I chose this topic, religion, morality, and law. Had I known that this is going to be a post-lunch oration, I might have chosen a different topic. The reason is that without any provocation from any speaker, most of us tend to have religious experiences in a post-lunch session. Especially if you have a speaker in front of you, the religious experience that we all tend to have is extraordinary, and I used to say that most of the lectures after lunch are very elevating. So I would try to the extent possible to disrupt any such religious experience that you may like to have in a post-lunch session. Dear friends, Frans de Waal is a Dutch primatologist. A primatologist is one who is involved in the study of primates. This primatologist's research concerned the innate capacity for empathy among primates. In the year 2011, this Frans de Waal gave a TED talk titled Moral Behavior in Animals. His 2013 book titled The Bonobo and the Atheist. Bonobo is an endangered species. It is an ape which was historically called pygmy chimpanzees. So the title of the book written by Frans de Waal in 2013 was The Bonobo and the Atheist. In this book, this Frans de Waal examines critically the human behavior through the eyes of a primatologist, and he explores to what extent God and religion are needed for human morality. He said, after spending a lot of time examining this bonobos, behavior of bonobos and others from the animal kingdom, he said this, I quote, "Being both systematically brutal than chimps and more empathetic than bonobos, we, the human race, are by far the most bipolar ape. Our societies are never completely peaceful, never completely competitive, never ruled by sheer selfishness, and never perfectly moral." This is what this Frans de Waal found after a lot of study into the behavior of the primates. These studies conducted by Frans de Waal showed certain kinds of moral behavior, such as reciprocity, empathy, etc., common to both humans and chimpanzees. He also found that chimpanzees soothed distressed neighbors. Bonobos shared their food. Frans de Waal produces evidence to show that the seeds of ethical behavior can be found in primate societies. In fact, you will be surprised to know that bonobos even adopted orphans and brought them up. If this is so, where is the place for religion in morality? I do not think we need to have any evidence to show that chimpanzees and bonobos do not profess or practice any religion. All of you must have heard this story from the Panchatantra, great Panchatantra, about a man, the bear, and a tiger. Once a hunter went on a hunting spree. He didn't get any animal. It became dark. He was afraid, but the bear told him, "My dear friend, this is my house. You are my guest. I follow the principle of Atiti Devo Bhava. We have to protect guests as God, so don't bother." This tiger addressed the bear and said, "Look, you and I belong to the animal kingdom. This fellow is a hunter. He kills all of us. Therefore, push this man down. I will eat him and go away." The bear said, "Nothing doing. I will not do it." The man fell asleep. The bear protected him. When he woke up, he found the bear sleeping. Then this tiger played a game. This tiger told the man, "Why don't you push the bear down? I will eat the bear and go away. I will spare your life." Because he is a human being, he immediately pushed the bear down. But fortunately, the bear clung to the branch of a tree. It escaped. Then the tiger laughed at the bear and said, "Look, this is what I told you at the beginning. Don't believe a human being. At least push him down." But the bear now said, "My dear tiger, we all belong to the animal kingdom. We have certain rules of conduct to follow. Man may not have. We should keep up to these rules of the game." If animals also have scientifically proved to have certain amount of ethical behavior, then that leads us to the next question as to what is the role of religion in promoting moral behavior. Is there a causal connection between religion and morality, and how do they have an impact upon the law that governs all of us? These are some of the fundamental questions on the premise of which I am now going to develop this oration. What is religion? The Britannica says religion is human beings' relation to that which they regard as holy, sacred, absolute, spiritual, divine, or worthy of special reverences. Some say that the word religion comes from the Latin verb religere, which means to read again, to go over again, as in the repetition of scriptures and holy writings. Others say that the root of the word religion is religere, which means to connect, to bind oneself with. As regards morality, etymologically, the term moral comes from the Latin moralitas, which means custom or habit. And it is a translation of the Greek ethos, which means roughly the same thing and is the origin of the term ethics. Morality is a set of customs and habits that shape how we think about how we should live, or about what is a good human life. There can be no denial of the fact that all religions of the world prescribe a code of conduct for humans, irrespective of whether they advocate, propagate the existence of God or not. All of you know that religions like Buddhism or agnostic religions, they do not examine whether God exists or not. But even those religions prescribe a code of conduct, ethical behavior, morality for human beings to follow. This is universal. But how far religion is dependent on morality, or morality is dependent on religion, is a question on which scholars have been debating for centuries. For instance, for centuries, up to the 17th century, it was believed that religion provided the only or a unique basis for morality, and that without religion, there will be no morality. This was what was believed up to the 17th century. But after the 17th century, things changed, and the scholars started questioning the validity of this theory. Therefore, for instance, the Westminster Dictionary of Christian Ethics says, I quote, "For many religious people, morality and religion are the same or inseparable. For them, either morality is part of religion or their religion is their morality. For others, especially for non-religious people, morality and religion are distinct and separable. religion may be moral or immoral, and morality may be or should be non-religious. This is what this Westminster Dictionary of Christian Ethics summarizes. Modern philosophers like Simon Blackburn, David Hume, Bertrand Russell, all of them opine that religion has no causal connection to individual morality. David Hume said, "The greatest crimes have been found in many instances to be compatible with a superstitious piety and devotion." Bertrand Russell went a step ahead and said, "You find this curious fact," this is what Bertrand Russell said, "you find this curious fact that the more intense has been the religion of any period, and the more profound has been the dogmatic belief, the greater has been the cruelty and the worse has been the state of affairs. You find, as you look around the world, that every single bit of progress in human feeling, every improvement in the criminal law, every step towards diminution of war, every step towards betterment of the colored races, or every mitigation of slavery, every moral progress that there has been in the world has been consistently opposed by the organized churches of the world." This is what Bertrand Russell said. But the problem with such theories is that these philosophers relied upon the existing data and their own logic and reason for making certain inferences. Therefore, the question arose as to whether there was any scientific basis to denounce religion as having nothing to do with morality. Is there a scientific basis? Is there a scientific study? Was the question. In order to answer this question, an organization called Gallup, this Gallup is a global analytics and advisory firm headquartered in Washington, D.C., and it has branches throughout the world. This organization by name Gallup, they have been conducting what is called a values and beliefs poll ever since 2001. For the past 22 years, year after year, this Gallup has been conducting a poll called Values and Belief Poll. They found that as more and more Americans became non-religious, the American society was moving towards more liberal values on premarital sex, abortion, divorce, out-of-wedlock childbirth, etc. The study produced certain interesting statistics and shocking results. When Gallup first included polygamy on the list in 2003, only 7% of the Americans said it was morally acceptable. In 2003, 7% of the Americans alone felt that polygamy was morally acceptable. And that 7% fell to 5% in 2006. But over the past decade, this percentage has gradually increased. Today, it has touched 20%. It has increased to 3 times more. It means 20% of the Americans believe that there is nothing wrong morally with polygamy. 61% of the Americans, this study says, 61% of the Americans say that having a baby outside of marriage is morally acceptable. It means 6 out of 10 Americans believe that it doesn't matter, you can have a baby out of your marriage. The study made by this Gallup found that there is a gradual decline in religiosity, and this gradual decline had an impact on the value systems that people had, not only of Americans, but also of people across the globe. Another interesting study conducted by them was of people from 145 countries. This study revealed that adherents of all the major world religions who attended religious services in the past week, that is, they went to church last week, Sunday, whoever went to church last time, they reported higher rates of generosity, such as donating money, volunteering, and helping a stranger than do their co-religionists who did not attend services. Even for people who were non-religious, those who attended religious services because of compulsions at home exhibited more generous behavior. Another global study conducted by them revealed from 140 countries that highly religious people are more likely to help others in terms of donating money, volunteering, and helping strangers despite them having on an average lower incomes than those who are less religious or non-religious. Therefore, how do you reconcile these scientific findings recorded by these organizations with views expressed by scholars and philosophers who also produced data? Dear friends, we cannot shy away from the fact that in the annals of history, a lot of bloodshed has happened only in the name of religion. Therefore, while we acknowledge that the seeds of moral behavior may perhaps be sown in larger numbers because of religion, religion has also been counterproductive in terms of the bloodshed that it has triggered in the annals of history. This is the reason why, instead of relying solely upon religion, instead of relying solely upon spirituality for regulating the conduct of human beings, the man had to develop laws. In fact, the Dalai Lama in the year 2002 said something very interesting. He said, all the world's major religions, with their emphasis on love, compassion, patience, tolerance, and forgiveness, can and do promote inner values. But the reality of the world today is that grounding ethics, this is what Dalai Lama said, the reality of the world today is that grounding ethics in religion is no longer adequate. This is why I am increasingly convinced that the time has come to find a way of thinking about spirituality and ethics beyond religion altogether. That's what Dalai Lama said. Therefore, sociologists and philosophers thought that we must move from religious morality to a more secular morality, from which we have today moved on to what we lawyers and judges normally call as constitutional morality. Therefore, the journey has been from a religious morality to a secular morality to a constitutional morality. In other words, move away from God-made laws to man-made laws. But are these man-made laws adequate to address some of the complex issues that have come up before courts these days? Is one of the questions that we have to ponder ourselves. Today, unfortunately or fortunately, we live in a very complex society. Our thinking has gone complex. Our actions have become complex. Our attitudes have become complex. That is reflected in a very complex lifestyle that we have come to adopt. Dear friends, today we are on February 17, 2024. Just 2 days ago, in the February 15th edition of the Guardian newspaper from UK, a very interesting case was reported. I will just read out from the extract of what the Guardian says about this case. It's a case that was decided a couple of days ago. A man identified as PQ, because for privacy purposes they don't give the name of the litigant. A man identified as PQ and his wife JK, now they don't call husband and wife as husband and wife, his partner PK, because it can be a man, it can be a woman, a lot of complications are there. So the man identified as PK and his partner JK experienced fertility problems. I am reading from the Guardian. They experienced fertility problems and they were not in a position to afford IVF treatment. You know what this PK did? He agreed, hold your breath, this PK agreed to mix his sperm with his father's sperm, which was then injected into the woman. The arrangement led to the birth of a now 5-year-old boy. But once the local municipal council at Barnsley became aware of the circumstances of the boy's conception, the local municipal council launched a legal bid to determine the parentage of this boy. The local municipal council moved the High Court in Sheffield, UK, to direct that DNA test should be carried out to determine whether this PK was actually this child's father. However, in a judgment delivered only a couple of days ago, the High Court dismissed the application filed by the municipal council for a DNA test, saying that the municipal council has no stakes in the outcome. The court said the municipal council may wish to know who is D's biological father, but the council has no stake in the outcome of this application. A wish to uphold, this is what the judge said, a wish to uphold the public interest in maintaining accurate records of birth does not confer a personal interest in the determination of such an application. In this case, the judge was actually caught in a moral dilemma. I don't think any of the law books that we have will contain a precedent to guide this judge. This moral dilemma was expressed by this judge in a very interesting statement. He observed, I quote, "This boy is a unique child who would not exist but for the unusual arrangements made for the conception. But those arrangements have also created the potential for him to suffer emotional harm were he to learn of them. Without testing, the biological paternity remains uncertain, but there is a strong chance, to say the least, that the person he thinks is his grandfather may be his biological father, and the person he thinks is his father may be his stepbrother. How do you resolve this conundrum? When this boy D calls his father daddy, that daddy may really be his stepbrother, and when he calls his grandfather grandpa, that grandpa may really be his father. How do you resolve this conundrum? Therefore, we get back to the age-old question of what is right, what is wrong. Unfortunately, what is right and what is wrong all lie in gray areas. There are certain fundamental premises where we are very clear as to what is right, what is wrong. But in certain cases, we do not know what is right and what is wrong. I can tell you a very interesting real-life experience that I had as a judge of the Madras High Court. Many of you may be aware of the fact that Madras High Court has got original jurisdiction. Therefore, under Clause 17 of the Letters Patent issued by the Queen Victoria, conferring jurisdiction upon the Madras High Court, we are entitled as High Court judges to deal with child custody cases under the Guardians and Wards Act. When one such case came up before me, I had a very interesting experience. That was the child custody case filed by the mother in respect of two fairly grown-up children. The boy was in the 10th standard, he was 15 years of age. The girl was in the 8th standard, about 13 years of age. They were put in a hostel, residential school, and they were being very highly educated by the father. The father was a rich man providing well for their education. When the mother wanted the custody of the children, she could not get it. When visitation rights were ordered, allowing the children to go to the mother's place, the children consistently refused to go to the mother's place. Whenever my predecessor judges dealt with this case, they used to call the small children to court, to the chamber, and ask them whether they would like to go with the mother, whether they would like to spend the weekend with the mother, or one day in a week with the mother. The children would refuse to go with the mother, even for one single day. When I had this case posted before me, as usual, I called the children to my chamber and asked them, both children, the boy and the girl, the boy aged 15 and the girl aged 13, refused to go with the mother, but they would not come up with a logical reason as to why they did not want to go with the mother. I called that lady and told her, look, your children are refusing to come with you. I can't ask the police to bundle them up in a police van and send them to your house. What do you want me to do? The law permits us certain amount of leverage, but we can't force an unwilling child, compel an unwilling child to go. What do we do? And that too, a child of that age, 13 years and 15 years. That lady understood the difficulty, but she told me that, sir, my son, I think, is a gone case. I cannot now retrieve him. But my daughter is 13 years. Please make an attempt individually with my daughter. Don't talk to my children together. Talk to my daughter separately. So when I called that daughter separately to my chamber and asked her, after a lot of cajoling, she said, sir, I like my mother. I want to go with my mother. But once I go with my mother, I will lose the love and affection of my father and brother. And there is a danger of my father taking me out of that school where I am doing fairly well. Therefore, in my own interest, I have to say no to my mother's request. This is what the child said. But the child also came up with a solution. This is the most interesting part. The child said, sir, you please do one thing. You compel me to go with my mother. If you pass such an order, I will roll on the floor and cry here. But don't believe, I will put up a drama. You also enact this drama with you. After the drama is over, I will happily go with my mother. So with this understanding with that little child, I enacted this drama in my chamber. And she, as she promised, she cried, rolled on the floor, cried, and refused to go. And I had to literally push her out of my chamber along with the mother because I knew what she had told me. She knew what I had promised. But my secretary, my chamber peon, the police fellow standing outside, the child's father, child's brother, all of them thought I was a villain of the peace and I was doing complete injustice. There was no way I could explain to them that this is the only way I could have done justice, because what justice was understood only between me and the child. Now tell me, which is the law book which permits you to do this? Unless you have certain reference points from the seeds of ethical behavior sown in your own personality over a period of time, a solution to a problem of this magnitude may not really be available if you simply look at law books as theoretical, as containing theoretical rules. So that takes us to another question, that law books also do not tell you, law does not tell you what happens when two cherished values have a conflict with each other. Let me tell you a small story. This is a story which our mythology has always contained, has repeated many times. A hunter, when he was on a hunting spree, he started chasing a deer. That deer took refuge in the ashram of a sannyasi. That rishi, sannyasi, was standing outside the ashram. This deer went inside. The hunter who came chasing the deer asked this sannyasi, asked this rishi, "Sir, did you see the deer which I was chasing?" Now let me tell you, how many of you will agree, how many of you will say that this rishi should speak the truth because there is no greater dharma than satya? Is it not? How many of you, please show your hands, how many of you will say that this rishi will have to honestly tell the hunter that the deer is inside the ashram? How many of you will say that? At least students. How many of you think that the rishi should tell the truth? So none of you. That's good. Then what is the principle that he has got to follow in such an event? Easy to tell a lie to the rishi, to the hunter, or easy to keep quiet. Even keeping quiet without telling what you know may sometimes be false. A falsity need not necessarily be expressed in terms of language, what you speak. It can also be said sometimes, conveyed sometimes by your silence. What is it that he is supposed to do? Now let me tell you another interesting case. How many of you have heard about a Chakravarti called Sibi Chakravarti? Have you heard? Has any one of you heard about Sibi Chakravarti's story? Sibi Chakravarti, his story is mentioned in the Vana Parva of the Mahabharata. This Sibi Chakravarti was supposed to have ruled Kashmir once upon a time. He was supposed to be a man of great virtues. In order to show to the world how a man should live a very virtuous life and how a man can resolve certain conflicts whenever two cherished values compete with each other, Lord Indra and Lord Agni conduct a small test on Sibi Chakravarti. Lord Indra takes the form of a hawk. Agni takes the form of a dove. This hawk starts chasing the dove. This dove comes and falls on the lap of the Sibi Chakravarti. The hawk comes chasing, and the hawk starts speaking to Sibi Chakravarti. The hawk says, "O great king, this dove is my prey. I have went without food for 2 days. Please give it back to me." Then the king Sibi Chakravarti says, "No, I can't hand over this dove to you. It has taken refuge on my lap. The dharma that I know, the virtue that has been taught to me says that one should never refuse to give refuge to a person or animal which is facing imminent threat of death. So I will not give this, hand over this dove to you." Then this hawk says, "O king, do you think you are very virtuous by providing shelter to this dove? I don't think you are. By giving shelter to this dove, you are depriving me of my food. This dove is my natural prey. I may tomorrow die of starvation because you have deprived me of my natural prey, my food. If I die of starvation, you will be guilty of committing a sin. Then the king is in a dilemma. The king says, if I hand over this dove to you, I will be guilty of being a party to the sin of this dove dying. If I don't hand over this dove to you, you accuse me of being a party to a sin of starving you to death. I have to choose between the commission of one sin over another. What should I do? Extremely difficult. Do you have any section in any statute, any law books to answer this question? I do not think that we have any such reference points. What this Sibi Chakravarti does is, look, I have found a method of not committing the sin of any one of this. I will protect this dove. I will not give it to you as a food. But I will not deprive you of your food. Whatever you want as food, I will give you. Then to put him more to test, the hawk asks him, O Chakravarti, if you are not going to give me the dove, please take the flesh out of your body and offer it to me. Then the Sibi Chakravarti readily offers his flesh. Then the hawk says, no, I want a flesh equivalent in quantity to that of the weight of the dove. Therefore, the king brings a scale. He puts the dove on one side of the scale and he cuts his flesh and keeps it on the other side. Because he was being put to test by the gods Indra and Agni, the plate in which the dove was put, it was weighing more again and again. Ultimately, the king goes and sits in the other plate and the balance is stuck. Then the king offers his own self, his own life to the hawk in order not to commit both these sins. Then Indra and Agni reveal themselves and tell them that this is the way to resolve whenever a conflict between two different virtues arise, and you have excelled. So, my dear friends, law gives an external code of conduct for all of us. But internally, what do? How your character is molded is many times molded by religious beliefs, or at least ethical beliefs founded upon certain established practices. I can tell you one more case where the dilemma that the judge faced in England was very serious. We have always had this problem between individuals and society. Liberal values of today focus more upon individual self than upon society. What liberal values teach us today is, secular morality teaches us today is, that you can do whatever you want so long as it does not hurt anyone else. A man should be absolutely free to think, to act freely according to his own will, without harming, without hurting anybody else. Then if that is there, that is a standard of behavior that should be accepted by society, is what people think. But where does it lead to? Is demonstrated. This concept of individual versus family, individual versus society, was reflected in a case which came up again before the UK High Court. That was a case where a person was born as a man. He married a lady. They had a child. But after the birth of the first child, this person wanted to become a female. Therefore, he had to undergo a course of feminizing hormone treatment, which required 2 years of living as a female before a referral was made for gender realignment surgery. In this interregnum of 2 years, his wife became pregnant for a second time. After the second child was born, this man underwent the realignment surgery and became a female. After he became a female, he applied to the registrar of births to change his name in the birth certificate of his first son. He said, at the time when my first son was born, I was Mr. So-and-so. Today, I am Miss So-and-so. Therefore, please change the name wherever my name occurs in the birth certificate of my first child. The local county, the registrar of births of the local county did not know what to do. He refused. The matter went to court. Fortunately, the judge asked him a question. You pitch your claim on your right to privacy. Fine. But what about the right of the child to know its identity? Suppose in the first birth certificate, the child is shown to have been born to a man and a woman, and in the amended certificate, the child is shown to be a child of Miss So-and-so and Miss So-and-so. After 20 years, whom will this child call as parents? Does the child not have the right to identity was the question that was posed by the court. On this basis, the right claimed, the right of every individual to be respected by the state of their own identity, your right to maintain your identity as a free person, they said it is subject to certain other constraints and we can't give you this. So when society is producing such complex issues, law is found to be inadequate to deal with such problems. It is at that times that we have to make a referral point to religion. Dear friends, it is not my endeavor to say that religion should form the only basis for human beings' ethical behavior. It is certainly not. But religions have proved over the past several centuries to have provided certain clarity on matters where individual is pitted against family, individual is pitted against society, individual interest is pitted against larger public interest and larger common good. Law takes care of the individual interests, but certainly morality, which is founded on some type of religion, it may be a religion with a God, it may be a religion without a God, that religion, the morality founded on that type of religious belief adds a little flavor, as Dalai Lama has said. Therefore, we have to think what regulates our conduct cannot certainly be entirely left to the legal regime. Of course, it cannot certainly be left entirely to the religious regime, but we must strike a balance as to how we evolve ourselves as human beings. Therefore, I now wind up with a very interesting quote from George Carlin, who was a comedian of the 1970s and 1980s. He said something very interesting about the paradoxes of our time and why certain value systems are important, certain value systems are perennially, it has flowed from generation to generation and which can never be ignored. He said, the paradox of our time in history is that we have taller buildings but shorter tempers, wider freeways but narrower viewpoints. We spend more but have less. We buy more but enjoy less. We have bigger houses but smaller families, more conveniences but less time. We have more degrees but less sense. More knowledge, less judgment. More experts, more problems, more medicine, and less well-being. We drink too much, smoke too much, spend too recklessly, laugh too little, drive too fast, get too angry, stay up too late, got up too tired, read too little, watch TV too much, and pray too seldom. We have multiplied our possessions but reduced our values. We talk too much, love too seldom, and hate too often. We have learned how to make a living but not a life. We have added years to life and not life to years. We have been all the way to the moon and back but have trouble crossing the street to meet a new neighbor. We conquered outer space but not inner space. We have done larger things but not better things. We have cleaned up the air but polluted the soul. We have conquered the atom but not our prejudices. We write more but learn less. We plan more but accomplish less. We have learned to rush but not to wait. We build more computers to hold more information, to produce more copies than ever, but we communicate less and less. These are the times of fast foods and slow digestion, big men and small character, steep profits and shallow relationships. These are the days of two incomes, but more divorces, fancier houses, but broken homes. These are the days of quick trips, disposable diapers, throwaway morality, one-night stands, overnight bodies, and pills that do everything from cheer to quiet to kill. It is time when there is much in the showroom window and nothing in the stockroom. A time when technology can bring this letter to you. A time when you can choose either to share this insight or just to hit delete. Remember, spend some time with your loved ones because they are not going to be around forever. Remember, say a kind word to someone who looks up to you in awe because that little person soon will grow up and leave your side. Remember to give a warm hug to the one next to you because that is the only treasure you can give with your heart and it does not cost a cent. Give time to love, give time to speak, and give time to share the precious thoughts in your mind. And always remember, life is not measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take the breath away. Therefore, these value systems are inculcated probably more by religion than by law, which is standardized and which is applied uniformly to all, whereas morality is applied individually to situations with which we try to grapple with. With these few words, I thank you very much for this opportunity. Good afternoon to all of you.
Would you need a lapel mic or a cordless?
This is fine.
This is fine? Okay, I just announce. Yes. Religion, law, and morality are fundamental pillars of our society, serving distinct but interconnected purposes. So thank you so much for such an insightful oration. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now open for a brief round of Q&A. Due to constraints of time, we would like to keep the questions, number of questions, preferably to 3. So may I request for the first question, please?
Good afternoon, Honorable Judge.
Yes, good afternoon.
My only humble question is that what is the concept which the principle of just causes under any, for instance, international law? Don't you think religion, morality, and law in the developing principles of just causes have all intertwined together, interlinked together? Like, for instance, in the case of Israel and Palestine conflict, even though Israel has ratified the Genocide Convention, but still not it has acted upon the principles of just causes. So don't you think the religion, morality, and law somehow have developed itself into the principles such as just causes? Would you enlighten me on that aspect?
See, the problem is that most of the countries are parties to many of the conventions. But how far, for various reasons, they follow this convention is a matter of debate. For instance, after the Second World War, the world became conscious about the plight of refugees who flee countries after internal conflicts and wars. Most of the countries have signed this Refugee Convention of the year 1951. But still, when it comes to acceptance of refugees, all the countries of the world, most of the time they turn down the request. The reasons are two. One, the huge inflow of refugees alter the demography of the country, number one. It results in the consequence of many people not getting employment, local people not getting employment. Therefore, there is some resistance. Number two, it is also being misused to a great extent by people. Therefore, all these conventions, like religious texts reflect the high ideal for a person to follow, which nobody follows. Conventions also reflect high ideals, and the countries don't follow. Whatever we do as individuals, the countries have also started doing as societies. That is the problem.
Good evening, Lordship. Myself, Rupantar Sarengia Fukan. I am a Judicial Magistrate First Class in Kamrup Metro, Guwahati.
Yes.
I have a question regarding law and ethics. The question is, if there is conflict between personal liberty, which has been upheld by law, with the ethics and morality, to whom we should give prominence. For example, I know that one person who is going to stand as a bailer for an accused who is languishing behind the bar, I know that the bailer is a very bad person. He has a very bad reputation. He wants to give cash bail, and I know that if I accept the bail bond, it will be unethical. But if I reject the bail bond, then his personal liberty will be affected. So what should I do? Actually, I have done, but my point of view may be different from the others. So I want to know what should my approach, our approach to uphold personal liberty and also to sustain morality at the same time.
No, but I think there is some kind of confusion. See, the person who offered a bail bond was not a reliable person according to you, correct? What does law say? Law asks you to release that person on bail, provided he produces this bail bond. That bail bond should be what? Should be to the satisfaction of the magistrate. If you are not satisfied with the bail bond produced by him, are you acting according to law or are you acting outside law? If the bail bond produced by him is not to your satisfaction. The law requires that it should be to your satisfaction, correct? If it is not to your satisfaction, are you complying with the law or are you traveling outside the law? You are complying with the law because you are not satisfied with the bail bond. Therefore, this question does not arise in this case. In this case, you have applied the law. You are not satisfied with the bail bond produced by him. Therefore, however much you want to respect the liberty you have granted him within the parameters, or it is up to him to produce another bailer to your satisfaction to exercise his liberty, that's all. But this is not actually a dilemma that you face. I will tell you a very interesting case. A session judge once telephoned to me when I was in Madras and said he is in a dilemma. He said he was trying the case of a person who was accused of murdering his wife. He had reserved judgment and he called me and said, "Sir, the arguments are concluded. I have reserved judgment. But on the day when the arguments were heard, the defense counsel brought two young girls. One is 7 years, another is 5 years, the girl children of the murderer. Their mother is already gone. Mother was the victim, the father was the accused. Now, if I send this man to life imprisonment, these two girl children, 7 years and 5 years, will become orphans. So I am really touched by their plight." A judge should also, justice should be tempered with mercy. But how do I reconcile mercy with law here, he asked. I asked him, "Are you convinced that this man is actually guilty of committing the murder of his wife?" He said, "Yes, 100% I am convinced. Evidence is overwhelming. I have no doubt about the evidence. I am not in a moral dilemma about the validity of the evidence. I am only concerned about these two children. What should I do?" This is really a dilemma. Then I told him, "Don't bother. If you are convinced that he had committed the murder, you do your duty by convicting him and sentencing him to life imprisonment. You are moved by the plight of these two girls. Don't bother. I will make arrangements to put these two children in a good children's home, a private children's home where they can grow up well." He was convinced and he convicted the man. After a week, he called me up again and said, "Sir, fortunately you gave me a timely advice. After I pronounced judgment, I came to know that this father was not taking care of the children. It was the grandfather who was taking care of the children. In order to bring this fellow out of the gallows, to get him an acquittal, the father and his lawyer has conspired together, brought these children, enacted a drama in front of me. I was moved by their plight." So this was a trick played on the psyche. See, why people say that you decide your case according to law? Why people say? It is because of this. Once you have compassion, once you have mercy, once you are an emotional person, the lawyers who argue cases before you, the litigants who come up before you, try to exploit this weakness. They see it as a weakness rather than as a strength. That is where you have to be more careful in balancing these two traits. Yes.
Thank you, Lordship.
Sir, this is like, first of all, the trinity of religion, morality, and law has been made very clear to me in so many years of like whatever I learned. The other aspect which has come out from your deliberation was spiritual morality and constitutional morality. I don't know, but I have an inquisitive question. In case there's a dilemma between in spiritual morality and constitutional morality in front of a justice or judge, is it going to be case-to-case decision based upon spiritual morality or religious morality, or is this going to be case-to-case on constitutional morality and spiritual morality? Is it, or maybe one will supersede other? I mean, that is what I want some clarifications.
No. Actually, there is nothing called deciding a case on the basis of spiritual morality or the religious morality. You will have to decide your case according to what the Constitution says and what the law says. But as I told you, there are certain parameters which give you certain leverages. The way you interpret Constitution, the way you apply the law will depend upon the moorings that you have. For instance, the case which I cited just now, since I was sure that mercy and law both can be taken care of, in that case, I came up with a solution that would have taken care of both. So it is not as though such solutions are not possible. They need not necessarily conflict with each other. It depends upon your ability to navigate.
Sir, good evening. Since there was a restriction of 3 questions, naturally I cannot ask the 4th.
No, that does not apply to the Chancellor.
But in fact, I don't have a question at the same time.
Yeah.
But I would like to supplement the dilemma which the saint had in your story of the deer and the saint.
Yes.
Our Sanatan Dharma, though always we speak about the truth and we have to speak the truth only.
Yes.
But the Sanatan Dharma has answer to this wide sloka of Chanakya.
Satyam bruyat,
Yes.
priyam bruyat, na bruyat, satyam apriyam.
That is what I
It is
wanted to
not.
supplement.
It is not said by Chanakya. It is said by Manu. Manusmriti says, "Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat, satyam apriyam." Speak the truth. Speak what is pleasant. What is pleasant? If it is not the truth, don't speak. If what is true
But not
is
pleasant.
not pleasant, don't speak.
So the saint has the answer because that was
No,
not
saint
pleasant.
did not have an answer. I will tell you an answer, different answer. The saint either had to say, "I have not seen the deer," to save the deer, in which case he would have uttered a lie. Or the saint could have said, "Yes, the deer is inside." He could have told the truth, but he would not have saved the deer. There are 2 alternative solutions proposed to this dilemma. One alternative solution was propounded by Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi said, "I would not like this rishi to tell a lie in order to save the life of the deer. If I was in the position of the rishi, I will tell the hunter that the deer is inside. I would have upheld the virtue of Satya, but I would have said, I will not allow you till my life remains in this body to enter and take this deer. I will give my life to save that deer so that I would have also upheld the other dharma." This is what Mahatma Gandhi said. But in a more practical manner, another great saint said, the rishi could have said an answer, very intelligent answer like this. He could have told the hunter, "My dear hunter, we are made up of different sensory organs like eyes, ears, mouth, nose, body, etc. Each organ is ordained with some duty which is very special to that organ. One organ cannot perform the duty of the other organ. It was my eyes which are capable of seeing something, but my eyes cannot speak. It is my mouth which is capable of speaking, but my mouth has not seen anything. Therefore, I can't give you an answer." That was a clever way of answering. But Mahatma Gandhi's was a more, we have accepted, all religions of the world have accepted that it is possible to sacrifice a smaller virtue for upholding a greater virtue. But Mahatma Gandhi says, "I will not sacrifice even a smaller virtue for a greater virtue." That is why he became Mahatma and we are not.
Sir, if I can take the liberty of adding one more to the
Yes. Judges are always exempt from law.
All right. Okay, as I was listening to your speech, there is something coming in my mind. Morality, which is essentially a question of right or wrong, and religion, which is a matter of faith, are essentially tied to an individual's belief system. Whereas when we talk about law, and in the context of a judge, these are essentially matters of jurisdiction. So I was trying to understand that while discharging the duties of a judge or a judicial officer, how does law, morality, and religion have an intersection which is admissible into the system?
So it's a very interesting question. But there is I will divide your question into two parts. First, your understanding was that religion and morality, religion is based upon individual faiths, and the religious morality is based upon the code that is given by religion for individual faith. But that may not be 100% correct. Why moral values got developed by religion was because of this. Religion found that in order to regulate man's conduct, not individually within his house when nobody else is around, but in his interaction in society, for the purpose of producing larger common good, how a person's conduct and character should be regulated is what religious scholars were concerned about. Therefore, it is not entirely about individual faith. Faith, this is why from the beginning I've been saying that religions also include agnostic religions. You may have a faith in a God, you may have faith in a supernatural being, or you may not have a faith. But certainly you must have faith in larger public good. Once that is there, then this religion morality can play a part in your understanding of the law. I will tell you one instance. See, if a person has borrowed money from somebody, and if he has not initiated a legal process within 3 years, the debt is time barred, correct? Law says that it is a time barred debt. Therefore, that debt cannot be enforced through a court of law. Now you are in a moral dilemma that this man has borrowed money, he is taking advantage of the law, what shall I do? Suppose there is some piece of evidence which is acceptable to overcome this law of limitation. As a person who has got your moorings in morality, individual morality, societal morality, you will tend to accept the evidence and say, no, it is not time barred because something has happened in the meantime. This is where you exercise some kind of a leverage by bringing your own morality into the way you interpret law and resolve the issue. Somebody else's property is encroached upon. If you don't recover, suppose your property is taken by somebody for 12 years, you have never questioned this, that man has acquired what is called prescriptive title, adverse possession. That case comes up before you. It is open to you to close your eyes and apply the law like a surgeon would do. The guillotine will fall. It is also open to you, if you are very strong in your moral authority, that no, admittedly this property does not belong to him. Law prevents the other man from recovering it after 12 years, but let me see if there is some leverage by which you can find an escape route. This is what a person who is grounded in religious morality does when interpreting the law.
With
With your permission, Lordship, can we take one last question?
Yes, please.
Good evening, Your Lordship. My name is Monoshija Bhattacharjee. I happen to be a trainee judicial officer under the Honorable Guwahati High Court.
Excellent.
Your Lordship, it's obviously, first and foremost, it's an absolute honor to be in your presence. Now, my question was, Lordship, in the Western countries, we see two distinct movements. First being the atheistic movements by the likes of Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens.
Well, keep the mic a little away because I'm...
Yes, Lordship. Is it audible now?
Yes.
So I was referring to two distinct movements that we see these days in the Western world. The first being the atheistic movement of Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, so on and so forth. And their argument fundamentally is that since all constitutions, most constitutions in the Western world are essentially reflections of Judeo-Christian values, rooted deep in the Middle Ages, in fact even earlier too, we need a revamp. And they say morality, ethics, all of it can be based entirely apart, distinct from these Judeo-Christian values. And they go further and they say that if we continue to persist on these Judeo-Christian values, then we are going to see a much more violent world. There will be fault lines. Lordship, my question is how do you see the world evolving in the coming times? Do you see that we move towards something like spiritual but not religious movements that is there in the Western worlds, where we tend to go more towards spirituality rather than organized religious structures inspiring us?
Actually, the point is, I do not think that the Western world is moving towards spirituality. It is more and more moving towards the spirit that they consume in the evening, not towards spirituality. The real problem with the Western world is the Judeo-Christian values. The Western philosophers had some problems there. The only book that they have as an authority is the Testament, correct? Some portions of the Testament, which every believer believes it to have emanated from God, are found to be objectionable by these atheists. But when it comes to religions, very, very ancient religions of the world, there were pure religious texts and texts which emanated from those religious texts, man-made. We always had, for instance, in the Hindu religion, there was always something which we called as revealed by God, then something which we call as revealed by great saints, then something called which was interpreted by lesser mortals, etc. So, in ancient civilizations, it was possible for removing the chaff from the grain and go to the purest form of text and find out whether the original sin was actually found in the text or it was found in the later subtexts and interpretations. But this leverage was not available in certain religions like Abrahamic religions. In these religions, the text was unalterable. Therefore, when they picked up certain portions of the text, for instance, in Christianity, once a man and a woman unite, then no court in the world shall separate them. Divorce is prohibited. Religions like Hinduism did not even talk about divorce. So whether there is a place or not for divorce in Hinduism became debatable, whereas it is not debatable in Christianity. In Islam, marriage was a matter of contract. Therefore, there was no difficulty. Morality, as it was developed by religions, changed from time to time, changed from place to place. When we had different kinds of morality advocated by different religions, because of the time frame at which such religions came up, according to the demands of the time, there is a conflict between different moralities propagated even by religions. So these atheists picked up those concepts and said these concepts will not work for the betterment of the society. we have certain fundamentals: compassion, reciprocity. As I began my speech, reciprocity, compassion, sharing with others are all found to be accepted moral values. But the unfortunate part is these accepted moral values are also followed by animal kingdom. Therefore, do you have a separate moral behavior than what the animal kingdom has? Atheists, unfortunately, cannot offer comfort to a suffering human being. Whereas a person who is rooted more in religion and spirituality, if they cannot give you a solution, they can certainly offer you comfort. What is the comfort an atheist will give you? Nothing. This is where atheism fails and religion triumphs.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking the questions. With this, we come to an end of today's event. I take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt thanks to Justice Sri V. Ramasubramanian for gracing us with his enlightening oration. So your words have enriched our understanding and inspired us deeply, and we are truly grateful for your time and wisdom. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to all the distinguished invited guests, the distinguished judges of the Guwahati High Court who have come to the event and graced us with their esteemed presence. We are deeply honored by your participation, despite your understandably demanding schedules. Thank you once again, everyone. And may I now request everyone to kindly rise for the state anthem. Thank you so much, everyone. Kindly join us for a high tea now.